Hello, everyone. Caren Glasser here, and welcome to the Super Boomer Lifestyle Show, brought to you by the superboomerlifestyle.com, your one-stop shop for brands we know you will love. Today, we welcome image and brand consultant Susan Jacobs to the show, and we talk about loving life and making a difference. And we have a phenomenal show for you today. This is 1 year in the making. We actually booked this show 1 year ago, almost exactly. And finally, we have Susan Jacobs on the show. But before we go into that, it's time for the Super Boomer Pick of the Week. And today I am picking the Echo Dot. And the reason why I'm picking the Echo Dot, I'm holding mine, I have one, is because I take this with me everywhere I go. I'm going to an event tomorrow. I'm getting on a train and I'm going up north and I'm going to an event. In my room, I want to have music. I want to have meditation. I want to have books read to me. So I'm taking my Echo. If you want to find out about the Echo and how you can pick up one in the superboomerlifestyle.com, put in the comments Echo, and I'll make sure to message you how you can go pick up one of yours. All right. So we are now at that point where I get to bring in my guest, my amazing guest. So before I do that, I want to introduce you to her because she's pretty special. When I asked Susan to send me some information about herself, this is what she said. And a lot of people say, oh, I've done this and I've done that. This is what Susan said. I'm committed to my clients as a wardrobe expert and image coach. I'm loving my life in my 60th decade. And she tells me that she's passionate about championing women to show up and stand in their full brilliance and truly believes that we are all better together. I believe that too. And that's why Susan is joining us in the show right now. Susan Jacobs, how are you today?
Hi, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for that intro.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean it. It's interesting when you ask people to send a bio or some bullet points about who they are, normally they talk about things that they've done. You didn't do that. You talk about who you are, which is so amazing. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that in the conversation. But what I like to do at the very beginning of the show is I like to ask everyone to describe a super boomer. So, in my case, the way I describe a super boomer is that we're not defined by our age. We're defined by how we show up in life. Susan, how do you describe a super boomer?
I love that, how we show up in life. I think that a super boomer is somebody who is fabulous because they are saying yes to things. They're very aware that every experience we have is going to add to our memories, and why not? I believe that a super boomer is also someone who is open to learning and is relevant and wants to stay relevant because there's so much more out there. So I feel like that's what I think.
I love that. That's such a great definition. Hey, you guys, how do you describe a super boomer? Put it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think a super boomer is. Hey, Joey says, hi, Susan.
Hi, Joey.
I'm so glad you're here. So let us know. And by the way, if you're on live, we love you, and make comments and we'll come and respond to your comments. If you're on replay, we love you just as much as you were on live. Make your comments. We'll come and respond. And of course, shamelessly, we ask you to share, push that button. We know you want to. We will wait. No, we're not. We're not going to wait. We're going to keep on going. All right. So today we're talking about loving life and making a difference. First of all, I have to tell you, I love this topic. I love the idea of loving life, and I definitely love life. And I love the fact of really making a difference. But let's talk about loving life first, okay? So Susan, when I say loving life, and when you say loving life, what does that mean to you exactly?
I guess I feel very, and I know this sounds cliche, blessed and fortunate to be here, to have the experiences, to have more of the same, to wake up every day with potential and possibility. I have a great network of people around me, and I feel that that's something that as you get older, you really appreciate, because we fall back on those people a lot of times when, as a super boomer, things happen. Loving life. I kind of think I love it too much sometimes. My physicality lets me know, smarten up, Sue. You are not 40. But you know what? You just have to keep going and saying, listen here, we're here for a reason. It's to live our life.
Absolutely. If you're just tuning in right now, we're talking to a brand and style consultant, Susan Jacobs, and we're talking about loving life and making a difference. One of the things that you always talk about is that you see potential in people, right? Mm-hmm. But how does that manifest in your life, and what does that make you want to do when you see the potential in people?
Oh boy. Well, it's a great asset when I was a teacher and in my role as an image and wardrobe coach. But I guess I don't limit it to my clients. I see it, in everywhere and everyone. And I feel like, so many people don't see their own potential. And I know the value and the benefit of people who see your potential and kind of help you and tweak you through it, because on the other side of that, again, is such newfound freedom.
So how do you help them? I mean, do you, I obviously as a brand stylist and right. You help them be their beautiful self that they already were, but you help them bring that out in them. But right. I don't think you're talking about just clothing when you say you see their potential. So how do you help them? What do you do? How do you help them?
I think paying attention to people, and I think active listening is important. I feel many people don't feel heard. They feel invisible or irrelevant. And I think I've learned that the most important thing we can do at any age really is to give people our time so they know that we hear them, we care, it builds trust, and they walk away feeling like, wow, that was kind of cool. Maybe I am all that.
And they are exactly that. So your journey is quite the interesting one. Your journey is quite the interesting one. And the reason why I said this was a year in the making is that prior to that, I think almost a year before that, you went on probably the trip of a lifetime that you didn't know was going to be the trip of a lifetime, and it literally changed your world. Tell us what happened.
It did. There's so much that built up to that, though. My daughter has lived and worked in Africa, in South Sudan and Kenya for 9 years. Mm-hmm. I had never traveled there. And I think I know why, and I didn't know why before, but a lot of things. So I go back to an awareness and listening and trusting your gut. And I feel what shifted for me in Africa, in my experience in Nairobi, was the way through different phases of my life. I mean, my dad helped me listen. I listened to him when he said to me, stop trying to be someone you're not. You're fine the way you are. You aren't your sister. You are good enough. So I listened, and it was like, oh my gosh, so that was liberating.
I love that, Susan, because how many of us need to hear those words, right? We are enough.
Yes. And then, fast forward, I was married and had all, the life, the kids and all of this. And then there's that tugging at myself again. And I'm thinking like, gut, go away. I don't want to hear what you're saying. But had I been listening, probably wouldn't have been married to that person. So again, not that there was nothing wrong. It was just shouldn't have happened. But what happened was great. It's again, a learning experience. And I have my 2 girls. So when you trust your gut, you admit what you don't want to admit, you do the tough thing, and you just go it alone. And what happened again, it was like liberating. It was freedom.
And then you ended up in Africa.
Yes. So all of these times in my life, I think, I've been aware. Changing careers in my 50s was huge. Wow. Leaving teaching, but people were telling me, I was paying attention. They were saying, Sue, you need to do this. So business, I listened in my business. If I didn't, I wouldn't have a business. So, Caren, to get to Africa, I think it needs to back up. When things started to happen in my own life, my husband was ill, my mom, hero that she is, she's still alive, but her awareness is not there. Yeah. It forces you to slow down
and look at things differently.
Yes. And what is important? So in my consultancy, what I had been focused on before seemed to be less important. And what was more important for the women and men that I worked with was, how did they feel? how did they want to be perceived? What is it that they want to be remembered as? That's where, so that positioned me. That happened just before we went. And I will tell you, I think my trip from the second I landed in the airport, it took me to my knees. Everything that happened, I was acutely aware of everything, like every sound, the difference.
And you talk about that. You talk about being aware. You talk about listening and paying attention, and that changed you because you became aware.
Because there's so much richness to when you can get out of yourself and fully be engaged in what's happening and be aware and notice things and notice that bug and notice that hug that felt like the earth was ending.
And so we have a comment from Lisa Phillips. Susan treats people with respect and offers so much encouragement. That's so beautiful. Lisa, thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And you know, this doesn't mean that we're all perfect, because that isn't it. I feel like I'm constantly learning, and sometimes I'm saying, what are you doing? Smarten up. You know, you have to stay the track and make sure that you don't get discouraged and you do not go off the rails. Come back to your values.
Right. And they need people like you. They need people like you who are going to help keep them on track and going to help them open their minds to something that maybe they just weren't ready for, right? And you're a mentor. You become a mentor that way.
That is true. And I do want to say this, as much as they need me and they hire me for a reason, I learn from every single one of these women. And I am so grateful for that every day. It's just like, it's a big gift. It's a constant gift.
One of the things I remember is when you came back, you were doing a shoebox thing. I know I participated in it because I just thought it was amazing that you were giving back in such a great way. And it was a small thing, but a great way. And how many people got involved in this? And I remember you put toiletries and things in it, right?
That was a project I got into. It wasn't something I initiated, but it was the London Shoebox Project. And yes, it was all, we got together, my friends and I, and we got shoeboxes, and then you gather toiletries. And these were for women who were homeless or at risk of being homeless. And then this year, so this past year, I was able to, on the other end, put all those things, package them together, and actually be there when women were coming to receive them. It's just great. It's
life-changing because you're doing something that's bigger than yourself. And I don't know about you. I mean, we talked about this before the show, that I think it's that we're getting older, not in terms of like we're dying older, but we're getting more mature. We as we get older, we have more stuff that we have learned from. We failed our way to success. And so we look at things differently, and we want to do things, I believe, that are bigger than ourselves. I don't think that you and I are alone in this. I think that more and more people are looking at the bigger picture, looking at the bigger world and saying, where can I make a difference? And that's where the topic of this show came. And I'm curious to my guests, to my viewers and to our viewers, how are you making a difference? How are you shining your light into the world? Maybe it's your community right outside your door. Maybe it's all the way across the world in Africa, or maybe it's across the country. You know, Susan, you're in Canada. I'm over here in Southern California. How cool is this that we can connect this way?
Yes.
You know, you have a tagline. I love your tagline, and I know that it comes from somewhere. You say, because confidence is always in style. I love that. It's so true, right?
It is. It's simple, but it's true. I love it too. It's kind of my story, right? I didn't know that style would have any relevance when this came to be for me, but it is true. And I love that it still exists. It's still relevant in my business today.
And Allison says, there are so many distractions in life. Being aware of that and coming back to honoring your values is so important. Yay. That's awesome. Allison, thank you. So many great comments and so many great views that are coming up here. You know, one of the things that is so funny about you.
Okay.
You dress women, you dress men, you help them be their best self, but you told me you dislike trying on clothes. How does that work exactly, Miss Susan?
That's really nice that you're sharing that. It's okay. I'm learning to be, the whole slow down thing in awareness, but also in real time. When I have time to shop is limited. So I do have to say that I will be in a store and I'm pretty quick. I bought something, I know I want it. I need to try it on because I'm short and, I have to see how it fits. I have been known, I often will come out of the change room, much to the chagrin of the sales staff that know me very well and see me doing what I do. And I will have on maybe my jeans down around my ankles and a dress on that I'll say, how does it look? And go, can you just take off your jeans? I was like, I have to take off my boots. So I'm very decisive. And
I love this. I love this, Susan. I love this on so many levels. Back in the day, and talk about, as you get older and things happen and you get a different perspective. Back in the day, 25 years ago, I was a Bloomingdale's shopper. I went to Bloomingdale's. I had my personal shopper, and that woman would call me and say, I have clothes for you, and I'd go running. Yep. Now, you couldn't catch me dead in a shopping mall, in a department store, in a store for that matter. I let my fingers do the walking online. I hate it. And so I love it that we are alike that way. I just hate it. I would do what you did. Pants around the ankles. How does this look?
Well, but I do love to shop for women.
But not for
and I like to browse. I do like to browse housewares. I think because I do it all the time, right? You went into it's like, oh my goodness. But I do humor those sales staff and I say, okay, this is for you. And I'll take the time. There's something, can I go back to something
you can said? Go back, you can go forward.
Okay.
This is your show.
Okay, so circling back to what you said about you think that we're not alone. I really realized that many people want to give back. They often don't know how to do that. They don't know where to start. They don't know what the processes are. So, and Allison is on this call. I'm not sure who else is, but she and I have done events together where we've brought other people in so that they want to be part of that community. Right. And it's such a relief for them to say, okay, this is great. And I do believe in the greater good of people. And again, hashtag better together. We are better together.
Right.
So, I mean,
and that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. And that's a theme that I think runs through the shows that you do, the shows that I do, the shows that Joey Garrity does, Kat Wilford, that we are better together, that women together, we rise together. If in your quest to support women, is there a particular tip that you would like to share?
Oh boy. I say for women, I see a lot of women, don't let your first gut instinct be to say no. Say, I'll consider it. Maybe. That sounds interesting because I can just say from my own experiences. Now, if someone said to me, Sue, I want you to consider rappelling off a high road, I would say no. So I'm just saying something that's a little bit out of your comfort zone, not completely out of your wheelhouse, because that's where you get to feel confident and proud of yourself because I've done it, I nailed it, and I was terrified. So I feel like we need to embrace saying yes.
And trust your gut, right? We talked about this before. Trust your gut. How does it feel? Does it make you feel nauseous? Does it make you feel excited? Does it make you feel like I've got this? So, do you trust your gut? I think you do, right?
I do. And I'm learning. I listen all the time. And I think too, for people that, maybe need to know what is your strategy? What do you need to do for yourself when you feel yourself, kind of going off the rails? And I think that's good to know. It can be quite simple, but whatever that is, do it because it does get you back centered. I know you practice journaling and meditation and whatever it is, right?
Yeah, whatever that is that helps you, I say do it. If it's breathing, do it. If it's listening to music, do it. Whatever it is that you need to bring you back to you. I am sure we have people out there wondering how they can get in touch with you. You do some amazing online courses, and I'm guessing that people might want to, take a look at that. And the best way they can do it, they can actually go to your website to www.personalstyleconsulting.com. You're also on Facebook, and they can get you over there to either facebook.com or fb.com, Personal Style Image and Wardrobe Consulting. And of course, because you're cool and you know what's hot out there, you're on Instagram. And at Personal Style Consulting. And then on Twitter, it's a little bit different because I think you probably had this a long time ago, and that is Sue in the City. I love that, at Sue in the City. And I tell you guys this because I want you to go follow her. Go follow her on Twitter. If that's where you play, then go follow her on Twitter. If you're on Instagram, go follow her on Instagram. And of course, Facebook. We're Facebook Live right now. Make sure you go look at her page. She's got so many great things. And I would be remiss if I did not tell people that every Tuesday you do an amazing live. What time is the live at?
The live is at 6 Eastern Standard Time, so where you are, it's 3 p.m. But those are, I know they're value packed. I love doing them. People benefit, and I'm going to continue to do that.
And they're great. And you always you tend to pick a topic, and then you dive deep on it. And you're very natural about it. You sit there and you have sometimes you have clothing and you show people. It's great. If you guys just need something just to maybe up your game, or a little nugget of something maybe you didn't think about, you want to tune into Susan's shows on Tuesday. Susan, I so appreciate you. Is there anything that we should be touching on that you want to make sure that you get your message out there before we say goodbye to everyone? The show is just zipping by now.
Let me think. I feel like women stand in their own way. Maybe men do too, but I see more women. And I believe that it's so valuable to reflect, take the time for yourself. Yep. Be by yourself and be comfortable with yourself, because I see many women in my consultancy they fear that. And I understand that. I used to be there. But when you get in touch with who you are and like what you need, you can really live that life that was intended for you. And then everyone else can benefit from your gifts.
I love that. I love that. Susan, I want to thank you. I know it's late over there. You probably have to have dinner right now, or getting ready, or maybe you have to make dinner. I don't know.
No. My husband's doing that.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I love your husband. Say hi to Bill for me.
I will do that.
And I want to thank you. I'm going to drop you in the green room. Stick around for a few minutes. I just so appreciate you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Caren. My pleasure. Bye.
So Susan's awesome, right? She's totally awesome. And so in alignment with this whole idea of that we are powerful, that we can do anything we want. Let's just kick that whole age thing to the curb. And as I like to do every week, I have my super boomer moment. And that's where I highlight something that I actually listened to more than I might have listened to something else. It struck a chord with me. And that super boomer moment has to do with listening and being aware. Before the show, when I was talking to Susan, we were talking about the topic and what we were going to do. And she was very adamant that we really bring in the fact that listening and being aware is a game changer. And Susan, you're right. It absolutely is, that when we start paying attention, when we really start paying attention, there is nothing that we can't aspire to, and there is nothing that we can't do as women and as men and as especially super boomers. So I'm just delighted that Susan taught me that today. And I'm going to put that on my list of things that I need to remember, is to be aware and to listen. I also want to remind you guys, we're on social media. Super Boomer Lifestyle is on social media. You can check us out on Facebook at the Super Boomer Lifestyle, which is right on Facebook. You can also check us out on Instagram, and that is the Super Boomer Lifestyle. And then on Twitter, because you can't have that long of a word on Twitter, so we had to cut it down a little bit. It's Super Boomer Life. That's how you know it's us, because it has a super boomer in it. All righty. We know that you have a choice as to where you spend your time. And I just am always delighted to see you back on the show week after week, because we care about you and we're thrilled that you chose to spend it with us today. So go out and give somebody an awesome day, and we'll see you next week on the next episode of the Super Boomer Lifestyle Show. Goodbye, everyone.